off, right? Vibe coding hasn't killed SaaS. SaaS was already dying and has been for like the last 5-6 years. It is the lack of value being offered by products to the price they charge and the premium every year. That's what's killing SaaS.
Why are SaaS dying?
Well, first of all, I reject the notion that SaaS will die. If you ask CEOs, SaaS is dying because of AI. But personally, I think that is bullshit. And that is what they're spinning at the moment to save their shareholders. If you ask a CEO, they're going to tell you it's because of AI. That is bullshit they're spinning to not freak out their shareholders. SaaS as a model has been in decline for a long time. And there's the perfect storm of events have sped that up. People have less money now. Share prices are higher, forcing shareholders to, well, not forcing shareholders, requiring CEOs to go out and create more shareholder value, which involves putting up prices. And the prices have definitely increased much higher than people's usage of many products have. It is easier now to find cheaper open source software. There was the era of the senior engineer side hustle micro SaaS businesses too. They got overcrowded and overflooded very quickly. But look, if it comes down to one thing, it's people have less money. They're more cautious about where they spend their money, and the cost of most SaaS products have gone through the roof, and the value has done that in terms of usage for people. That's that.
What's a micro SaaS?
Micro SaaS was effectively building a very tiny service that does one thing or two things very well, selling it to users. So a very common thing that boomed in the micro SaaS era was to have a better time tracker. So if you're working for someone on an hourly basis, you can track that time and do it in a manner that's less disruptive on your CPU, less disruptive on your workflow or what's going on, and perhaps give some more accountability to your client as well in terms of where you're spending time. So it's a very small program.
There is a myth among founders, among builders of the SaaS being basically what makes you rich on the long term. What do you think about this?
I think it is bullshit. I think, well, no, sorry, let me take a step back. I think it is 99.99999% bullshit. There will be the teeny tiny number of people who manage to find stuff and still manage to find stuff moving forwards where it is a sustainable business model. But for most people, it is not. It is not something you're going to be able to build and scale. Very unlikely. SaaS, software as a service, was an economic instrument created by very large software companies to be able to extract more value from their users. Great example is, and please forgive me on the specific numbers, but prior to SaaS model coming into like the Adobe creative suite of software, that company was making maybe less than 1.5 billion a year. After they roll this out, they're making $12-14 billion a year at some of their peaks. And again, let's take those numbers as estimates. They're not specifics. It was an instrument to get more from your product, promising your users updates. And while the product started off quite cheap, people weren't necessarily asking questions of whether I need these updates. Am I using these updates? Does it fundamentally give me more than what I currently have? Created an enormous amount of shareholder value with the right conditions, ready to push a nice bull run in the market. And it kind of got these companies stuck, sort of charging more and more. And for realistically, in terms of usage, less and less value. There's a really big gap was kind of created there.
Where do you think it all comes from, this SaaS concept, and where are we now compared to the what we could call the golden age of SaaS models?
Man, where does it come from? Comes from greed, right? Comes from greed. Prior to SaaS, people were able to make software and build very, very big successful companies. So it's not like it was necessarily a required economic instrument to provide value. There are, I think, and always have been examples of where you do need a service per se linked with your software. So say like a Bloomberg trading platform or something that has live data that you need to use. You can see the subscription. But realistically, what do you use today in Word, if you still even use Word, that didn't exist 5, 10 years ago when you started using this at school? Maybe there's a better autocorrect or something like that. But fundamentally, there's not a lot of features in there. Like, is it really worth whatever they charge per year to get a dark mode? Right? Is it really worth whatever they charge per year to get a new menu bar or a header or any of that stuff they put in the software? Probably not. It's probably not really affecting your workflow that much. But look, it came from this way of being able to extract more value from your customers on a more consistent basis. And it may have in the beginning, I remember when these things came out, the prices were quite cheap. And in some instances, we look at products between, where they started as a SaaS offering to where they are now. And there's 400% increases in some of those price points. Back then, they were offering, hey, we'll charge you less than the cost of the software that you maybe buy every 5 years. I'm thinking about Office right now. We're going to give you all the updates every year that you're going to get so you can go along. So in terms of when you're in your head and you're pricing out what the cost of that software would be every 5 years, you're kind of spending the same amount of money. They threw in some cloud storage as well too, which was something nice to have as a backup for very much the same amount of money in terms of what your buy point was. But so that promise may have been to serve users. But very quickly, the economic model changed into how do we serve shareholders. And I'm not against that, by the way. That is fundamentally, if you have shareholders as a CEO, they are your boss, and you do need to provide them value. But you got stuck.
Yeah. Many SaaS product CEOs are blaming AI for performance decreases, etc. Is that the truth?
Again, that's 99.999% bullshit, right? AI most AI companies are failing in big numbers, right? We do a whole separate video on AI. AI in many ways is like the snake eating its own tail, right? Most of these vibe coded apps are full of bugs. If it's easy enough for one person to vibe code it, 10, 20, 30 other people are going to be able to do it. Let's call them professional development companies, have enormous advantage over any of these AI businesses. No, it is not the case. It is a trending news topic that can be lent on as an excuse in the market